Okay, well, hey, welcome everybody for another Tech Tip Tuesday. Here we are, January 18th, already the middle of the month. Wow, what's going on? It's flying by, but I love it, and I'm so grateful to be here. Thank you guys for joining us. I've got Jake Barron here from Operations as co-host. Hello, hello, hello.
Hey,
And
everyone.
we also have a secret guest in the background from our tech support. Who's joining us tonight?
Taylor's on the call.
Taylor, hello, welcome, Taylor. Thanks for being here. So much appreciate you. So for those of you that are new, and even if you're not new, I'll remind everyone who's alumni guests. This is a chat-based forum, and what we do here is we put your questions in the chat, and we will do our very best to unpack them live right here and sort them out and create solutions. So what we can't do is we can't treat, diagnose, prevent, or advise on any disease or disorder. We're not going to be talking about what program does what for what condition. That's not why we're here. We're just making sure that all your hardware and software is working. All right. So that's the key thing, that this is the spot you can come and get those answers and solutions, get you on the go. So I am a member just like most of you guys. So my opinions and expertise and experience is what I bring to the table. Jake Barron is here from corporate, as well as Taylor in the background from customer service, to assist in the ways that they can from there. And we have been known to solve problems in real time. So
That's
here
why
we go.
we're here.
So let's do it, guys. How about we get started, huh?
Okay.
All right. So right out of the bat, before we even got started, we were still in the green room, and I saw someone asking if we could please restate the battery programming process. I know some of you guys might be having some things with batteries, right? I mean, the Healy is battery operated. It's a very small battery, built-in onboard battery. And the most important thing is that when you first get your Healy is that you plug it in right away and charge it completely. That's one of the most important things. I know it's hard. You got your new toy, you want to get started. But plug it in, charge it all the way. That's really important to start the charge cycle, to start the way in which Healy, there's a smart charger, in the way in which Healy actually holds and retains a charge and then allows a charge. So if something happens and that doesn't work out, there are ways to reset the Healy itself and reintegrate the algorithm. It just uses mathematical algorithm to tell the app what the battery life is. So it's not actually got a little tester and connected to the app to say exactly what the battery voltage is. It uses mathematics. It uses part of the equation in the software. So if that gets off, you can take your Healy and press and hold the on button until the green light comes on solid. Okay, that takes about 10 seconds. And then release the button. The green light will stay on for another 3 or 4 seconds and then go off. That's a hard reset of the Healy hardware. It clears the memory in the Healy. It clears all the connections that it might have with the app. Then go ahead and turn the Healy back on and open the app. Okay. And then take a look at the battery life indicator at the top and see where you're at. If you're not getting your Healy to charge, there is another process the reason I ask you to reset the Healy so that you know, one, what the pressure is. You have to press the button and hold in order to get the green light to come on solid and turn off. And two, how long it takes to do that process. Because the next part of the reset for the battery charge cycle requires you to plug the Healy in. And when you plug the Healy in, as you know, when you plug the Healy in, the green light comes on solid. So pressing and holding that button, you won't know it's already on solid. All right. So you need to have that reference in your mind as well as in the mechanics of doing it. So the next phase, if you're still having issues with, say, the battery charging or any of the cycle information that you think is off, plug your Healy into the charger, green light comes on, press and hold the power button for the same amount of time that you remember from before, release it, and then let it charge. When it's done, the light goes off, unplug it, reconnect it to the app, and see how it's performing. You may need to do that second phase of what I just talked about more than once to get the battery life cycle re-elongated. Okay, if you think it's dying too quickly, or if it's not charging, maybe the green light's not going off at all, when you've plugged it into the charger. Those are some things you can do in terms of kind of recycling the battery. The adapter box that you use that's plugged into the wall, that you have your cord plugged into for your Healy, that adapter box can be variable in current output. So whatever box you have plugged it into will determine how long it takes to charge. It may be all night and that green light not come off because you're using a very low current charger. I don't recommend plugging it into your laptop or your computer. All right. Use a wall charger, and it simply uses a micro USB cable, which is available from almost anywhere now. Even grocery stores are carrying them. But those are some things to pay attention to as you start using your Healy, and you'll get in the flow of how long it takes to charge your Healy, how long it lasts based on the programs you use, and so on. Okay. Anything you want to add there, Jake?
That was very thorough, as always.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Sure.
Okay. April says there's a problem with the blue dot. Every morning I begin day with it. Suddenly the screen opened as blue. Suggestions, please. Yeah. Okay. We know about this, huh, Jake?
Yes, we do. Yeah, we did not change the functionality of it to just have a blue screen to match the name, the Blue app. But yeah, I'd like to say that was the reason behind that, but no. So last week we had an update. It was 1.20.1, and that was an update that fixed the issue where some certain users were getting stuck during the sync process at 10%. And it turned out that update worked great for the majority of people in Healy world. Everyone with Apple devices was fine, but there were certain users that were running Android 11 where when they went to open their Analyze app, it was just a blue screen. You couldn't do anything. So within a day or so, the product team put out a beta version that was available by request only. So you could send your email in, and then we'd have the product team would put you on the beta list, and you'd receive an email to download this beta version. That took place late last week and over the weekend. And then yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah. Was today?
Yeah, it was yesterday.
Yesterday. It was because we had a holiday yesterday, so we were off. So it's kind of confusing to start the day on Tuesday, or start the week on Tuesday. But the new version was released to everybody after that brief monitoring period, trial period, to make sure that fix didn't mess up anything else for other users that weren't affected. So release 1.20.2 is now available for everyone, whether it's Apple, Android, whatever your device may be. So if you are still having that issue with the blue screen, make sure you update to the most recent version. And a lot of us are set to automatic download of updates. So for me, when I opened my Analyze app after this release was made, it automatically showed that I had installed 1.20.2, and it lists the things that were addressed. I mentioned the blue screen issue. So that was all taken care of. If you have not updated your app yet and you can't do it through the Analyze app because you just get a blue screen, you can go to the App Store, or sorry, the Google Play Store, and manually add the update from there. And then when you go back into your app, you should be able to access it again. So yeah. Anything to add there, Ken?
No, you were very thorough. Thank you. No, that's it. I've been getting tons of calls as well. And, I always say that the first thing to do is update everything, because you never know. You didn't get the notice, you didn't get the memo, you didn't know, first thing to do, I always recommend first thing you do is update your smart device first. Make sure everything is up to date. Number two, update your apps. There's usually something in the background. This is no different from Healy or from your picture app or whatever it is you got. I mean, updates are always happening. iOS, operating system manufacturers, the Android or Apple, they do updates, which forces all of the app developers to do the same. And so anyway, that's going to happen all the time. Just it's part of the technical life we live in. So it's all good. Yeah. So here's another question. Somebody said that their connector wires are no longer working. Is it possible to submit a ticket for replacement? Well, it is, but they're also available in your back office for purchase. The wires are actually not part of the warrantable parts. They're accessories or components. They're there, but you could put in a ticket. My recommendation, get some new ones. I don't know, Jake. Are you guys?
Yeah. So this question comes up from time to time, and of course, when people have issues with the wristbands, we certainly replace those because there's no way to buy a replacement. Those aren't available in the shop. But the connection cables, over a period of time, it's possible that, I don't know, if you have the cables on, you're doing something, you could pull it suddenly and it could break, whatever. I've had my original pair for over a year and they're perfectly fine. So they feel very thin, they're very flexible, but they're durable. I've had zero issues with mine, but as you mentioned, all it takes is one false move, or it could get caught in something. You cut it with scissors. I don't know. You're cooking something, and you chop your cables or something like that. So it's always good to have at least one extra cable on hand. You don't necessarily need to have a pair, but if you want to at least get one, because they're sold single cable. So if you go to the shop and then go to accessories, you'll see the cables there, and the price there is for one cable, not a pair of cables. So, because a lot of times you might just have one you need to replace. You don't necessarily need two, but it's always good to have at least one, ideally two on hand, just in case something happens. Then you're not stuck without being able to use the microcurrent programs. You can just swap it in with the new cable, and you're good to go. So,
yep, absolutely. And I have a little test that I like to demonstrate and get people to try when it comes to testing. Why do you need the cables in the first place? I mean, are you getting a constant black line? If that's the problem, well, that makes sense. Let me grab something here. It makes sense. If you got a constant black line, you've done all the things. You as a body are hydrated. You're working with the straps themselves. You're getting them moist. You're doing all that kind of stuff, and you still get a black line. So it's possible that it is a wiring issue. And so there's a way that you can test to verify if it's a wiring issue. And I like to, you can use your wrist bracelets. And the simple way of using your wrist bracelets is that you will connect the cables to the wrist bracelet, right? So you plug them in, don't put them on your body, but you just connect them up, plug them into your Healy, turn your Healy on, and start a program, any one of the microcurrent programs. All right, go ahead and kick it on. Of course, if you're not wearing the wrist bracelets, so you're going to see a black line, right? Then take the wrist bracelets and the side that would normally be against your skin, right? Put a little moisture on there, and then touch them together. Touch them together. So the sides that would normally be on your skin, you touch them together. That'll show. The way they'll look is that the buttons will be on the outside and the connective surface will be on the inside, and just pinch them together. Just pinch them together like that and hold it. And then take a look at the app and see if it goes white. If all of the connections are okay, so the wristbands, the wires, the plugins on the Healy are okay, then it's going to go to a white indicator. All right. So it works really well. It's a pretty simple little way of doing it. And that'll test the wrist bracelets. It'll test the wires. It'll test the connectivity within the Healy. The other method that I like to use is if you've got the sticky pads. You got the sticky pads, plug the wires in on the sticky pads, then take the sticky pads off of the plastic and stick them to a common kitchen butter knife, right? I say a butter knife because somebody uses a sharp steak knife. You might cut yourself. I'm just looking out for you here, folks. All right. So stick those sticky pads back to back on the butter knife like so, and keep the wires connected. Turn the Healy on and run that another program, any one of the microcurrent programs, crank the amp up or the current up, and you'll see it'll also do the same thing. So another way that you can just test the circuit, all you're doing really, remember, when you're connected to the wrist bracelets, you complete the circuit. It's a complete electrical circuit. And so If something is open within that circuit, then that's why you get a black indicator. Open meaning no flow. Okay. So easy way to check that out. I've done lots of tests with how far we can run the microcurrent through how many people. Put a wristband on one person, a wristband on the other arm of the other person, and you hold hands in the middle. I run it through 5 people. And so if the flow is within the bodies, it's going to go. You can have a lot of people experiencing the frequencies in the microcurrent. Okay.
Ken, a good question on that. When you were testing the cables, is there a way to pinpoint, if there is one bad, which wire it is when you're doing that test, or do you just need to assume that you should buy a new pair?
So if you've only got one set, then you don't really have any way to eliminate one from the circuit and see if that's the problem's child or not. Not really. There is, I do electronically. I have a multimeter and I can test continuity within that kind of stuff, but that just requires some extra expertise and hardware.
So if you don't have any additional tools, you may want to just go ahead and buy a new pair.
Yep. If you have, I always recommend that my customers get an extra set of the wires, as well as the sticky pads, just because that you do go through those fairly quickly if you're using them on a regular basis.
So if you buy an extra pair, then you can test to see which one is bad, and then you can swap out. If it's just one, swap it out. Then you have an extra for the future as well. So
exactly. I do have I had one of my wires, because again, like Jake mentioned, you can catch it on something out accidentally. I'm very active. I work out with my wristbands on. And if you drop a dumbbell on it, it's going to tear it off your arm. It's like not a good idea. But, so I do have one that wound up getting damaged, but I've bought several extra sets just because it's a good idea. I also loan my device out. So I have new sets that I can loan with some of my Healys. Okay. What else we got? Please speak to the microcurrent intensities. I like talking about this one. This is a good one. Do we need to adjust anything? I've noticed that even at when I have it on 100% with the bands, there's no feeling of the current, the flow or buzz. Yeah, science shows, and the body demonstrates that we do not need to feel the microcurrent flow in order for it to have an advantage. ATP production is scientifically proven to increase by up to 500% just by the implementation of microcurrent, not the mental capacity for you to feel it, just the implementation of microcurrent. And protein synthesis increase, as well as amino acid transport. That's all science. It's all proven from decades ago. Okay. And the reason that Healy built in the white, black, or gray indicator on the progress bar on our oscillating circle in the middle of the app, the reason that's built in like that is to verify that you're physically getting a flow through the body. If you were not having an electron to electron to electron to electron communication with your body, it would be black. It would not be flowing through your body. It would just simply not be functioning properly. So that's why that was built in, which is brilliant, right? Genius to have a verification process, because you would never know. So if you're running the Healy on 100% intensity and you're not feeling it, let's say that you used to. Remember our body, the genetic code, 3% of that code says it's going to be a skin cell, a bone cell, muscle cell, whatever. The other 97% is adaptive. It's an adaptive antenna reading the environment, and it expands our body's capabilities, constantly evolving this organism to suit its environment. And so if we have been using the Healy for a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, our body has acclimated. It has become evolved. I guarantee you it's become evolved. And so the fact that you don't feel it anymore is not unlikely. It's not uncommon. I don't feel it. I can have mine set to 100% intensity, and I don't actually feel the buzz or the tingly or anything like that. But I feel the result. I feel and understand the result because my body tells me very clearly that I've had some result. I'm one of those guys that I have a routine, and I will purposefully occasionally shut that routine off because you don't know what you're missing until you stop doing it. So I do that routinely. And this is another thing you could do with your Healy. You could stop your Healy for 1 week, and then go back to using it again within that 1 week. Remember, 800,000 cells per second are being reorganized. A lot of cells in a week are going to be evolved to be more sensitive to the microcurrent. So I won't go a week, but might be a good case study for somebody.
Yeah. So Ken, on this issue, we were chatting with Adria, not in the public chat here, but separately. And so her device, she sent me her serial number and is actually set to low current. So that's another reason. So all Healy devices ship at low current by default because some people are very sensitive to microcurrents, and you don't want to overstimulate whatever. But there's an easy way to change it from low to high. And there's lots of videos. Taylor posted the video in the chat here of how to switch from low current to high current. You just go to your HealAdvisor app, go down to settings, click Healy configuration, and then you'll see all of your devices that are on your account. And it'll say if it's at high current or low current, and you can switch there from one to the other. Note after you do, there's a video there too as well that shows you how to do it. After you switch it from low to high or high back down to low, if you need to, you have to update when updating your Pink Dot app as well for it to take effect. So that's a key step there as well. But as far as on the follow-up question there, then what's the purpose of the varying intensity? So do we just watch the white line versus black? And you always want to make sure that it's staying white, because a lot of times you might increase it to a certain percent and you might see it go from white to black back to white. And I think, Ken, a lot of times it's because of the frequency that it's currently running at that time, because the higher the frequency, the easier it is for it to there's less resistance into the body versus the lower frequency. So you might see at a high frequency that line's white, low frequency it turns black. You want to have it turned up to enough where it stays white even at those lower frequencies. And then Adria, you mentioned, well, a lot of times you just want to shut the iPad or whatever, not look at it. So just monitor it for a little bit, make sure that it's staying white at all the different frequencies, and then you can probably close it and walk away at that point. So Ken, anything to add to?
Yeah, those are all great points, because that's true. The lower the frequency, the closer to density. So you'll see some of these frequencies are like 2 hertz or 5 hertz. That's a very low frequency, slow vibration, meaning closest to density. And to get a current flow through the body, or to get that frequency through the body, takes more power, takes more oomph. Okay. The higher the frequencies, up there at 1,000 to 10,000 hertz, really no effort, because we're working more towards the outside surface of the body and the systems. When we go in through the cell, through the outer cell membrane, all the way through the fluids of the cell, it takes more effort to do that. If we're just on the outer microtubules, the microtubules is the skeletal structure that vibrates, shimmer at a certain frequency. If we're just speaking to that outer shell, we can bounce around that internal intracellular structure and not take so much energy. So this is why we need to watch the program. We need to watch it for a little while and find and pay attention to the frequencies that are turning black. You'll see it. So it's top of the screen, and you'll see that it's going to be those lower frequencies, typically under 400 hertz, 500 hertz, somewhere under that, are going to be more power to get through the body. So adjust your system to where those lower frequencies are still white. Then go ahead and shut off your smart device, and you don't need to monitor it anymore. again, this is something that we kind of get used to, right? I mean, if you're watching, I geek out on the app, and I'm watching the frequencies. I'm looking at the progress, and I'm waiting to see if that one frequency doesn't come back around in the cycle. I'm like, oh, yep, it's gone. I guess I'm all charged up. I geek out on it, and I play with it. I'm changing things. I spent a lot of time just understanding at a much deeper level. That's this engineering brain that does that. But it's been very helpful so that I understand, when things are going black. And also I want to mention, there are 3 color conditions within that monitoring system: white, gray, and black. White and black are on or off, basically yes or no, right? On is white. Yes means that it means you're getting current flow through the body. Black is no, there's no current flow through the body. Gray means that there are no measurements taken by the software. So it's not actually measuring the current flow through the body. It doesn't need to. So gray just says no measurement taken. So if you see gray, the program's designed for that, and it's still operating properly. Okay. All right. Are we all caught up?
There's a question here. It's probably, I don't know how to answer it, but maybe you do. What waveform does Healy use to deliver frequencies? Sine wave, square wave, etc.
Square wave. Yeah, it's a square wave. And the reason it's square wave is because you can change the frequency very quickly. A sine wave is a flowing arced wave. It does this. It flows like a wave on the ocean. That's a sine wave. And so it's got a maximum, but it ramps up to that maximum amplitude and then depletes to its minimum amplitude, and so on and so on. A square wave, though, can go up, down, up, down, very quickly. So Healy, when it's shifting frequencies, it wants to switch to the next frequency right now. A square wave is the most logical waveform to use so that you can go on, off, on, off. So what it does, it goes to maximum amplitude and then minimum amplitude, but it's in a square. So it's got nice sharp round edges, sharp edges. So up and down, up and down, up and down, like that. Okay. Great question though. I mean, I love these kind of questions. It's like, now you're into my techie brain. Right on. What else we got?
Well,
I like being caught up.
let's see.
Okay, so there's a question here. It says, what does it mean if when running a program in pink or blue, it gets stuck on the same hertz frequency and time? That's an improper communications between the app and the Healy. The Healy doesn't get stuck. The Healy is still implementing its program in the background, but remember, the Healy is giving via the Bluetooth radio transmission medium. The Healy is giving an update and receiving information. It's back and forth, two-way street, to the app itself. And then the app is simply a monitor, a display device to tell you what's going on. The pink dot is just essentially a secondary monitoring process in the pink dot. The blue dot is actually a real-time interface between command and delivery of the Healy hardware and the Healy software, the app. So that's it's a two-way street. And if you see the blue dot stop in time, then the whole system is shut down. I guarantee you, the whole system shut down. Something happened between the communications via the Bluetooth, between the Healy hardware and the app. Either got too far away between those two devices. Other devices within the proximity interfered with the signaling, something. But still, if it freezes, you probably have to reset the app. Now, I mean, hard close the app, open it back up, and restart the program, most likely. I mean, there's variations to that, but just in standard procedure, that's what I do. Okay.
Got a question about the watch band. Is there an easy way to remove the band for charging? I cannot get it off the watch. And I think I'm probably not alone there. You know, the first time I got my watch, and I'm like, I'm not going to break this thing on the very first time that I get it. And you know, it's durable, but it is definitely the first time you remove it. It gets easier over time after you've removed it, put it back on. But you just kind of have to wiggle it a little bit slowly, and then it comes off, and then from there you're not as scared the next time that you're taking that part of the band off. But Ken, do you have any tips for how to do that?
Well, and wiggle it is a technical term. It's actually in the electronics logbook as to how to function. Wiggle it, just wiggle it. No, but that's true. I don't really have anything expanded beyond that because
do you want me to demo? Because I do it quite often. I have my watch
Sure,
with me.
yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is your Healy Watch here. And what I do, the Healy Watch actually has a silver part to one side of the band and then non-silver on the other. I always go to the piece that has the silver part because that's the piece that needs to be connected to be charged. So I just literally, I don't know if you can see that, I just literally twist to the right, twist to the left, and you'll see it's coming apart slowly but surely. And voila. And then this is the side with the silver piece that needs to be connected. And you'll know if it's charging because you'll see the little battery starting to go up and down, up and down. And then you just simply put it back together again. So again, just twist, you know, here, I'll do it this way. It's a little easier to see. And it comes off this way.
Yeah.
Hope that helps.
It's just really tight the first time you try to take that off. And thank you, Karen. And as you saw there is only one way to charge it. So it'll fit into the USB charger, either, you know, up or down, whichever way. But you need to pay attention to when you're plugging it in that, yes, that it does come on, that it shows that it's charging. Because that has happened as well, where we've shipped somebody a brand new watch. They take the band off, go to charge it and say that it's dead. But no, it just needs to be flipped over to the other side. And also, it can be, depending on which type of USB charging block you're using, it can be a little bit loose. So you might have to sort of wiggle it a little bit to get it to fully start charging. So just keep that in mind when you're charging it for the first time.
There's that technical term, wiggle it.
Wiggle it, yeah.
And Karen gave us a new one. It needs to be written into the book. It's twist it to the left, twist it to the right. We need to.
There's a song like that.
I know. I figured you guys would catch that one. Okay. What else have we got? Yeah, good advice there. So somebody wants to go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say there's a perfect question here. It says, I want to loan a Healy to someone to try out. I would like them to try out the resonance capabilities. What's the best way to do this and protect my past client info? How to do a test drive that doesn't sync info with my files. So demo mode, that's what it was created for. And if you go to, I forget what's up when it was, not last week, I think the week before, 2 weeks ago, What's Up Wednesday recording that's available on Telegram. Ken did a great tutorial on demo mode. And then also the following day on Healy for Beginners and Beyond, I did another brief tutorial on demo mode as well. And that recording is available on our YouTube channel. I'll post the link here in the chat, but it's very easy to use. You just have to know where to go to log out of your account. And then when you log back in, just go into demo mode instead of logging in as your normal device. So
yeah, it's fantastic. It's fantastic because it does create a completely autonomous space where you can loan it out, and all of their activity, client inputs, whatever recordings and lists they generate, all of that is completely separate from your account, and it's their own kind of private content. But the cool thing is when you get it back and you log out of that demo mode, all that data is flushed, right? So they won't give it to you either. You know what I mean? So it's you can tell your person that it's completely safe, and it still uses a master key type of link to the cloud, but it's one that really just resets all the time. And remember, what the master key is, again, another very secure way of interacting with the cloud. It's a 4096-bit encrypted code. And so, I like to give people a feeling of security, right, when they're using it, because you're putting information in there as a client, your birthday, place of birth, your name, some things that you might feel is sensitive. And folks, you don't really have to put the email address and the phone number, all that kind of stuff under the client. What they're looking for is they're looking for some specifics. Healy needs a destination. And so your picture, your name first, or how the world addresses you, right? Who are you to the world? Your birth certificate may say one thing, but people may call you, something else. Nice things, I'm sure. So anyway, your birthplace, where you came to this life in the universe, and when you came to this life, and then gender. Those are really the most important pieces. Yeah. And then that sets a very clear coordinates for the information field to interact with you. So that data is within the blue dot. And like I said, it gets flushed when you turn off the demo mode for somebody else's usage. And you've got a great space to loan this out. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Sorry, I missed your answer on the gray color. Is it working or not? It is working. Yes. Big yes, it is working. Gray just means no measurement taken. That particular program does not require that there's a measurement of that current to still change your state. I want to open that just a minute. I know people are going, well, wait a minute. It's the microcurrent thing, and it doesn't care about the microcurrent. Yes, it cares about the microcurrent. It doesn't care. It doesn't necessarily need to know that it's flowing it completely in your body, because the Healy, when you're running the pink dot program or the blue dot program, the Healy is still putting out the frequencies through the device called the quantum sensor, AKA noise generator. It's got a little device inside that's transmitting a signal. And so just a little hint that that particular signal is going into your proximity, the area in which Healy exists, as at the same time as while you're connected to the wristbands. So it's a two-way communication system. There's a lot of depth to that understanding. I don't want to go there. I've had hours worth of conversation on how the interface with the electron field is happening through that little tiny quantum sensor, AKA noise generator, and the random generation system that your awareness is interfacing with to get it to, to get it to function in your benefit. This is some of the more you get to know about Healy, the more genius you're going to see in its build.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we move on to the next question, just back to demo mode. If you're looking for help with a lot of these issues, there are a lot of videos available on YouTube, and Ken's created a bunch that are available there. And if you go directly to YouTube and search from there, so rather than go to Google and search for it, go directly to YouTube. You'll get much more results, relevant results for what you're looking for. But if you just go to YouTube, type in Healy demo mode, the tutorial that the video Ken created is on there. Our Healy for Beginners and Beyond comes up in the results from January 6th. And they're all available right there, along with some other users that have created videos as well about demo mode. So there's tons of resources of videos of other people that have had these same questions or issues and put together great content to help everybody with it. So absolutely.
Yeah. And the reason that, to Jake's point, is when you Google something, things that are search engine optimized, SEO, will show up under Google, and the things that get the most press, the most awareness, the most searches will be at the top of the list, and then so on. So sure, if you Google it, it's probably on page 3000 of that list that you got, but if you just go to YouTube, it's a much quicker, more direct way of getting it in quicker time. So, yeah, I love it, Beth. Yeah, we're gonna call that twist to the left, twist to the right. That's a new Healy dance. We're gonna call it the new Healy Watch dance, right?
Yeah.
All right. When syncing changes in the Blue app, it often takes a long time. Any tips? Yeah. Faster bandwidth. And more frequent synchronizations. If you're syncing 50 things, 100 things, it's going to take longer than if it's syncing 10. So, and that's the biggest thing is bandwidth of whatever. Let me put it this way. Your data transfer is only as fast as the slowest component in the loop. Your data transfer is only as fast as the slowest component in the loop. So if you have an older phone with a slower data processor, or the memory is consumed a lot, then maybe the phone is contributing to the slower function. If your router within the location you're using is maybe an older one running on a slower system, or you've got a lot of users. Oh my gosh, I'm telling you, you go to like a Wi-Fi cafe or something, a lot of users on there, it's going to go really slow. So one of the things you can try is, instead of using Wi-Fi, use your cellular network data and see if that makes things any quicker. Because if you're in a 5G area, that's a pretty fast signal, and if you've got a good, decent bar or clear signal, it'll go pretty quickly. But again, how much data is being transferred and the bandwidth in which it's traveling, those two things are the biggest. I hear you. I mean, mine, if I wait too long, mine could take, I could sit there and let it sit and update for an hour. But a lot of times I'm on my cell or my Wi-Fi network is optical, where I just got optic service to my home. It's the fastest bandwidth, the fastest internet and the widest bandwidth available right now in terms of technology. And it goes really fast when I download it. Even I've got students at home, so they're on their computers online, they're live streaming something, whatever, and boom, still works. But not everybody has that. All right. Good question though, Karen. What else you got? Demo mode stuff. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for the compliment. I always love to, hear success stories. Anybody, come on and put a comment of this is working. I love that too. Oh my gosh, this is, that's also good.
We had a question about the functions of the watch, and earlier on the chat, I put a link to Healy Academy that has 5 different videos on the Healy Watch itself. That's always a good resource, because we have a lot of people that have never been to Healy Academy. It's just academy.healy.world, and there's videos for all of the apps. Everything it's not 100% complete, but we're continually adding new content to Academy, and the watch does have some resources there. And I'm going to see if I can find, we did a training, as it was months ago now, but Dennis Depot did a training on the watch on one of our prior calls. I'm gonna see if I can find that recording, and I'll post the link in the chat here.
Yeah, if you go into the Telegram group and you put in Healy Watch, it will pull up there.
Okay.
So I wanted to address something about, say, electrode, sticky pad placement, or wristband placement on the body, and I'm going to address this in a general fashion, but it's going to address a question that was asked privately. When the body itself has a condition, a skin condition, for instance, a rash, a burn, a cut, a lesion, something, we want to avoid any placement of the sticky pads or the wrist bracelets on that particular affected area. We can go on either side of it to do some alignment and some work. We can go on either side of it, but not on it. As well as if the body has other things. I mean, if you had an IV, right, you're not going to put the things right near the IV on your body or something like that. If you've got some kind of a port or some interface with a medical treatment protocol, you want to avoid that space, right? Avoid that space. If you have an implant, a knee or a hip or a shoulder, you want to avoid that space. Okay. Even if that's what your pain is, it's okay. Move to the outer parameter of that space, get further away. You can put these wristbands on your ankles as well. And you could even take 4 wristbands, connect 2 together and make a larger diameter circle to go around the knee on each side of the above and below the knee. So you can actually get creative here because the current will still flow. Just because you have a wristband that's 4 feet long doesn't mean it won't still transfer microcurrent. It will. It will. So in other words, I've taken wristbands, right? And you've got the Velcro, right? You got one side that's Velcro. You can actually connect them together, and you can now make a much longer wristband, okay, and make it a bigger diameter. So there's ways of doing it. You just have to make sure that the conductive silicone material is touching the skin, but you can still increase this. Now I'm going to give you another little hint. There is Velcro material out there that you can purchase in strips. And so you could essentially elongate one particular wristband with an extension, and then it would fit around, a body part, right? We don't want to put them on our neck. And you don't put them on your eyes, but the body is a conductive strip and you can speak to it pretty much anywhere. Just avoid things that are obvious damaged parts or medical interface parts. You don't want to go there. Okay. Hopefully that helps. We also know the contraindicators, anything with a pacemaker or an electrical triggered life support system. Electrical triggered life support system. Okay. All right. You don't want to use the Healy. Now, the coil is another option. We can now send magnetic energy into the field, and it will be no more of a effect negatively than say, like some of these light systems in homes that emit a very distinct magnetic pattern. So Healy coil is designed to be a very coherent signal with the body and still interface with the Healy app. So that you can use under any condition, whether you've got a lesion, pacemaker, any kind of condition. There's really no contraindicator with that. Okay.
So, related to that question, there's 2 questions about, you were talking about them earlier, but if you want to put the sticky pads, say, so the lower back of neck. So I guess, I think I'm not sure if it says lower back or neck or the lower part on the back of the neck, but that is, if you look at a lot of times with the programs that come up, the diagram that shows them on what is that muscle called? The back of the.
It's called, actually, the section is called the brachial plexus.
Okay.
The brachial plexus, there's a lot of nerve systems that go through there from the spine to C1, where the first cervical vertebrae right there, down to just above right about where the cervical and the thoracic spine start to join. So you've got a plexus of nerves there. And so if you look at the picture, it's saying place the sticky pads right there in that area. You're not going to be, you can be, in or out from that space, up or down a little bit. It's not like there's an exact spot on the body, because of course your body, my body is a little bit different. So you be in that area and you're fine. You're fine. You'll be right there in the right spot. Okay.
Got a question About after connecting the Healy to a new iPhone, it only has a few programs. I opened it from the App Store to make sure it's the latest version, and I tried resetting Bluetooth. So when you install it on a new phone for the first time, you're going to want to not only install it on the phone, but also make sure you check for updates in the app to load all those programs onto your new device. So just open the app, go to settings, and then go to check for updates, and it should load everything on your account to that particular device.
Yeah. So there's a question in here about, or a request in here about how to actually hook up and charge the Healy Watch. Okay. So if you guys were to take a USB cable, just find yourself a USB cable somewhere and take a look inside of it. So you look down inside the square box. So here's a USB cable, right? And if you look down inside of it, you're going to see some sort of a plastic bar and then a space. All right. The cabinet, we'll call it the cabinet of the outer shell is called the cabinet. The square part, the metal square part, it's called the cabinet. And then inside that cabinet is that white, or sometimes they're red, sometimes they're blue. I've got another one right here that shows that material that's red inside there. I'm using the white one so you can see it best. And then there's a space, an empty space above that. Okay, so that's what a USB cable typically looks like. Now, the watch itself, it's different. So if you look at the way that the watch plug-in looks, it's like there's no cabinet, right? But all you're seeing is, instead of black or instead of white, you're seeing just this black part is the white part that you see in this cabinet. So the space that would normally be in this cabinet is on the other side of it. Now, how do you know which side is the space? It's the side with the metal tabs. You've got one side that has metal on it and one side that does not. One side that has metal and one side that does not. Okay, so when you're plugging it into the charger, it's got to have, let me grab me a charger here. When you look inside the charger, you're going to see a space, right? Again, the little white tab in the cabinet and a space. If you tried to put those two white tabs into the same spot, it won't go in. You have to turn it over, right, to get it to go in. So the watch is going to fit in the blank space inside the box, but you've got to make sure that the metal tab is facing the opposite direction of the inner tab, up like that. Okay, so if you look inside the box, if you look closely, you're going to see some metal tabs inside the box. So you want to go metal to metal. Metal tab is going to go up, connecting to metal tabs in the box. That's the electrical connection. See that? All right. So hopefully that helps. I can't really zoom in much better than that, but in this particular case, you see the watch is up in the air, but if I was to plug this into the wall the other way, it would still work, right? It's just that we need to know that the metal tab on the watch and the metal tab up in the top of this box are connecting. All right. And again, like Karen said, and Jake said, that when you do get it plugged in correctly, the lights come on. The light comes on and shows you're charging. There's some function. If you get no function there, it's not right. Keep trying. Okay.
You can do it also with a charger. Like I have this charger here. If I plug it in this way, you'll see that it's charging. If I plug it in the other way, there's absolutely nothing happening. You won't see the battery charging. So for those of you that are visual, you just have to plug it in until you see the battery literally showing up on the watch charging. And this is just a portable charger that I have.
That's
And
great.
she's talking about that's a battery, folks, by the way. That's a battery that she's got, this portable battery things. You know, you can get these portable battery guys that are
Yeah.
pretty cool. Yeah. All kinds of different shapes and sizes of a battery. They'll charge your watch.
Always helpful to actually see it. So rather than us describe it.
You're cutting out there, Jake.
Oh, okay. And then
Yeah.
I charge myself up.
All right. What else do we got for questions? Anybody?
Let's see, we only got a couple minutes left. But let's see.
Your signal is not that great now. All of a sudden, Jake, what happened to you?
I don't know.
You sound like you're speaking through a fan.
This is what happens in Florida when it gets below 50 degrees. Things go crazy.
You're still speaking through the fan. All right, guys. Oh, it's here. Let's see. What do we got? Well, thank you for the compliment. These Tech Tip Tuesdays are useful and important. Thank you. Appreciate that. Kudos are always lovely. I went back up to make sure I didn't miss anything.
Okay.
All right. And if there's anything you want me to expand on, folks, let me know. Let's
So
see.
the Healy, can you hear me?
No, you might jump out and jump back right back in, Jake, and see if you can reestablish a better connection. But it's
Okay. I don't want to risk it messing up the end of the call. But
risk it and you won't be able to get back in.
yeah.
Okay, so yes, so appreciate it. Actually, thank you guys very much for your gratitude. I appreciate that a lot. How are the HealAdvisor search results sorted? Well, if you put a keyword in there, and there's information within the database on that keyword, then it's just sorted in there in terms of alphabet. I don't know if it's alphabetical. Perhaps it's by priority. I'm not for sure, honestly.
So, am I still talking through a fan?
You're still talking through a fan.
Okay.
You know what you could do, Jake? Try turning your video off and see if that improves the bandwidth for audio.
I don't know. Are we okay?
Yeah, it's still the same. Didn't help.
Just check my connection. We're really fast right now, so I'm not sure what's going on. But one of those things. So
Yeah, I'm sure that it has to do with some sort of an interface there with the Zoom call.
yeah.
Okay, so anyway, maybe we can hear you. Try again, Jake.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh wow, we fixed it.
Magic. Okay.
So the HealAdvisor search results, I've been told that was sorted by relevance to you, but we have had a new version that was released in the last month or two. We did a training on it, but I don't want to give out false information. I'll research that again just to confirm, and we can mention it again on a future call. So.
You're back to sound like a fan again, but we got the information. So if we look at things from 10,000 feet, let's go to 10,000 feet and look at how does Healy work? What's the top priority that Healy assigns to any result? Relevance. It's always relevance, right? I mean, so it would sound logical that when you're looking at search results, that it be the highest priority, relevance, right? So anytime no matter what, any scan you do, it always comes with the most relevant content for you in that moment. So it would just make sense to me that same theory, theory of operation is what we call it in engineering, would hold true across the board. So, but that would be a great thing to get some clarification on.
Okay, sure.
Okay, well, we're at the top of the hour. I mean, it went by super fast. Thank you guys all for for joining in. Jake, anything you want to close out with? Turn the fan off so we can hear you.
Is my fan on or off? I can't tell.
Sounds great. Awesome.
Okay, well, let's hurry up and let me say something real quick. So I posted the link to our YouTube channel earlier in the chat. So if you want to, you can save this chat. If you go to the chat, pull that up, and then next to the smiley face, those 3 dots, you can save the chat from today's call onto your computer. So you have all the links and answers of everything that we put into the chat. We are not going to do a Healy for Beginners and Beyond this Thursday. We did the last 2 weeks. Both of those recordings are available on our YouTube channel that I posted. So be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to that channel so you get notified when we do post new content. We're also going to start working on posting these Tech Tip Tuesdays on the YouTube channel as well. So we want to start making this sort of a one-stop spot for all of our calls, resources, and things like that. So
You're back on the fan again.
oh,
Back.
okay. Well,
Sorry, but we got it. It's it. Okay, so what Jake was saying, if you guys didn't hear that, I mean, I caught it. So no Healy for Beginners and Beyond this week, but they're posting more and more content on the YouTube channel, and as well as the chat. To save the chat, you guys can see over there in the chat area the little smiley face. Next to that, there's 3 dots. Click on the 3 dots, gives you the opportunity to save the chat to your computer. Then you'll have all these links and valuable information that was in there. And so you can use it for later. But we got most of it, Jake. I was trying to kind of emphasize on what you were covering. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you, Taylor, in the background and all the assistance you give us. Jake, of course, you're always a brilliant co-host, and I appreciate your time. So you guys, until next week, let's stay informed and let's make Healy work. Okay. Big love, y'all.
thanks, everyone.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you. Good night.
Thank you.